And you're live.
You ready?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
You're on.
Good evening, dear friends. We are glad and happy to be here with you. And we appreciate you being patient to wait for us. And we hope that this doesn't disrupt your day too much. And we want to encourage you to continue listening as our time going to have to flip around some and whatnot until we get adjusted, because everything is just haywire right now. But we want to apologize for all of that. But right now, we're going to read a question that we received.
Thank you for being willing to answer questions for listeners. It means a lot that you answer people in a way that does not make them feel sorry they asked the question. I have 3 teenage boys. I try my best to warn them about how the devil will trip them up. In their minds, they wouldn't listen to a thief or a drug addict. I try to tell them that is not how the devil gets you. Please give us a lesson on how temptation works and paying consequences. I think a lot of us older folks could use a reminder.
We appreciate your question so very much, and we thank you so very much for it, because many times young people are that way. They think they know everything, and you can't tell them anything. And many times young people hate to be corrected or to be chastened or chastised, as the way we down here in the southern part of Louisiana said. When I was growing up, the old folk would call it chastising, but the word is spelled chastened. So, we're going to read about that a little bit. But young people, I hope you're listening. A young lady says she had 3 teenage sons. Well, that go not only for teenage sons, but any son that don't want to listen to his or her parent, because sometimes girls get contrary too. But we want you to pay close attention, because there's a reason why the old people used to tell of us to not to be hard-headed. Brother Mo, you hear? Jeremiah 17 and verse 9. Old Testament, Jeremiah 17 and verse 9. Read that kind of loud so everybody could hear you.
The heart is deceitful above all things.
So the heart is deceitful above all things.
And desperately wicked.
And desperately wicked. So
who can know it?
Who can know it? So that means you don't even know your own heart. You don't know your own heart. So don't think you know everything, because you don't. The Bible says you don't. So what we want you to stop and pay attention to, the heart. He talking about not the blood pump in your chest, but the brains, the mind that's held in your head. You remember Jesus Christ said, why think you evil in your heart? You don't think with your blood pump in your chest, you think with your mind in your head. So we want you to understand that he talks about the brains when he's talking about the head. We also see a record in Proverbs 3 and verse 11 and 12. 3, 11 and 12. And we're reading the scriptures first because I want to explain some things at the end of all of this. Proverbs 3, verse 11 and verse 12.
My son, despise not the chastising of the Lord, neither be weary of his correction. For whom the Lord loveth, he corrected.
So you see, God love you, so he correct you. Well, when your parent love you, they gonna correct you too. They got another verse I'm gonna have to go back in my mind to find it, but it says that if the parent don't chastise or chasten the child, he don't love his child. So if your mama trying to tell you right from wrong, or your daddy, or both mama and daddy, or I put it this way, any old person with good sense try to help you to understand right from wrong, please listen to them. They have lived the life and they know what they're talking about. Before you leave Proverbs, go
Let me
to
finish
chapter.
reading it. Let me finish reading 12. Even as the Father, the Son is in whom he delighted.
So a father that delight in his son, he corrects him, you see. And then in Proverbs chapter 13 and verse 15.
God understanding giveth favor, but the way of transgressors is hard.
So you see, the way of the transgressor is hard. So when you don't listen to God and you don't want to listen to your parent, you become a transgressor. And your way going to be hard. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. Proverbs chapter 12 and verse 15.
The way of a fool is right in his own way, in his own eyes, but he that hearkeneth unto counsel is wise.
So a wise person gonna listen to counsel, but a fool gonna establish his own way and be right in his own mind, which is not right. That's wrong. So we want you to understand you have to listen to the people who've been there and know that, you know. And so you want to understand to walk by God's will and not by your own will, you see. God don't want you to be a fool. He wants you to be wise. That's the reason why he inspired the apostles through the Holy Spirit to write the Bible so we could believe on him through their word, don't you see? And we're going to go now to the book of Hebrew as we be talking about these various things. The 12th chapter of the book of Hebrew, where he said, wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses. Now that great cloud of witnesses is those people you read about in the 11th chapter of Hebrew that by faith they did their works. It started out saying faith being the substance of the things hoped for and the evidence of the things not seen. And you can continue reading in there and you get to verse 4. He gonna say, by faith Abel offered up a more excellent sacrifice to God than what Cain did. And by God receiving Abel's offering, because he did it by faith. God told him to bring a blood offering to the altar, and he brought it. Cain brought the fruit of the ground, being the tiller of the ground. He brought the vegetables out of his garden. That is not what God told him to do. And so now he was angry and he rose up and killed his brother. And then when God asked him, where was his brother? He got smart with God. Am I my brother's keeper? Because he ain't got no other answer. But the brother is the brother keeper, and the brother is also the sister's keeper. And the sister is the brother's keeper. We have to help one another to be where God wants all of us to be. And if people would cooperate like that, we'd have a better world to live in. You in Hebrew 12, Brother Mo, read verse 2.
Looking into Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith.
When you start at a verse, finish the verse, because when you stop, I think you'll be finished with the verse. You're finished with verse 2? So Jesus Christ is the author and the finisher of our faith.
Oh, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God.
So that's why the Bible said Jesus Christ, though he was the Son of God, he learned obedience by the things in which he suffered. See? So now what we see in Hebrew 5:8-9, God told Jesus Christ to come down here and suffer and die on the cross for the sins of the world, and he obeyed God and did it, and that's how he was made perfect. Well, when we obey our parent, if they're telling us the right thing, and we obey God, because he is telling us the right thing, we're going to be made perfect, don't you see? So listen to your parent. Be obedient. And older people, don't tell them young people go do anything they want. That's craziness. That don't make no sense at all. You can't do anything you want. And no man is above the law, just like and no man is beneath the law. And they got a lot of folk take the law in their own hand because of racial prejudice. And I'm not talking about just white people only. They got some prejudiced black people too. They got some black people who kill you at the drop of your hat. You better believe that. That's a lot of the people don't understand that. And I'm not saying that to be ugly. I'm trying to help people to get away from that attitude. God don't want us to do that. God don't want us going around here killing up one another. We become an enemy to God when we do that, because when you kill somebody, you stop that person from having the chance to listen to the truth, where they might repent from the error of their ways, confess Christ, and be baptized into Christ for the remission of sin. Well, you stop all of that. You know, I showed you that in Ecclesiastes chapter 9 and verse 10. When you go to the grave, you don't know nothing and you can't do nothing. So whatever your hands find to do, you got to do with all your might right now while you're living. We know right now, but we don't know what tomorrow going to be, because it ain't promised to none of us. Believe that. So young people, listen, we're going to read several verses through this 12th chapter, and we don't get to finish it. You shut down patiently and read that. Don't tell your mama you ain't got nothing to do. That might be nothing you want to do, but they got plenty to do. Read the Bible. When you get through doing that, get up and help mama wash the dishes. Help mama clean the house. Watch how mama fixing the pot. Learn how to cook. That be time when mama might be feeling bad or ain't well, or maybe just need to rest. You can get that in the kitchen, clean the kitchen up, wash all the dishes, and cook the food. And when mama get up, she say, oh boy, she make mama so happy. And not say because you was a boy, you can't do that. And I could tell you that from experience. When I was a little boy growing up, when I got a certain age, my grandma had me in the kitchen washing dishes. My mother died when I was 7 years old, and she promised my grandmother she would raise us till we was able to take care of ourselves. And bless her heart, she did the best she could to do that. But when I got a certain age, she had me in the kitchen washing dishes and whatnot like that. And she would make me put an apron on, because my grandmother believed in the apron. And I had the apron on, and I was standing there crying because my little other friends that was around, sitting around laughing at me. Oh, look at that old sissy. He's all punked out on a woman's apron and all like that. And grandmother said, boy, don't worry about that, because I'm not raising you for myself. I'm raising you for somebody else. Years later, I grew up to be a man. I got married. And about a year or two after I was married, probably 2 years maybe, after I married, my wife had my first little daughter. Now, she ain't too little no more. She's 57 years old now. I know she ain't like me telling the world she's 57, but that's who she is. If I don't say it, it's going to still be the truth. But anyway, when my wife had her, the doctor had to take away like they got Caesar, the Syrian section thing. And she would lay it up for a while. And I was in the kitchen washing dishes and cooking. I didn't have to go high and pay somebody to do that. And the first thought popped out in my mind. I said, oh, that's what grandmother was talking about. I stopped washing the dishes, went to the phone, and I dialed a number. And when my sister answered, I said, I want to speak to grandmother. And she said, hello, son, what's the matter? You need something? I said, no, thank you, baby. I said, I got everything I need. I said, you remember when I cried back yonder over 20 plus years ago washing dishes and you told me you was raising me for somebody else? She said, yeah. I said, well, I see what you're talking about. Oh, she said, thank God you learned the lesson. I said, yes, ma'am, I sure did. And all my friends that were around there, many of them dead now, because that was, like I said, 57 years ago. But at that time, most of them were still alive. And when their wives had little babies, they had to go hire somebody, and they wasn't able to do that. But they had to hire and pay somebody to clean up the house and wash the dishes and help with the little baby, keeping it clean and all like that. I was able to do all of that. I'm not bragging about that, young people. I'm telling y'all, your mama raising you for somebody else. You ain't going to be there for your mama all the time. One of these days, you're going to think you're in love, and you're going to jump up and get married, and you're going to leave your mama, which is what you're supposed to do. That's the Bible. When you grow up, you leave father and mother and cleave to your wife. Take your woman and marry her, the Bible says. And after you take her and marry her, and that's your wife, take care of your wife. That's what you got to do. And love your wife and respect your wife. Oh, I can't respect that thing. Well, you shouldn't have married that thing. That's your thing. You gotta know. That's what your mama trying to tell you, baby. Listen to your mama. Read some more of the Hebrew.
Okay, where we at?
Sharon, keep it marked way yet, because we got to
Looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God.
Now, why you see he endured the cross and bear the shame? Because it was a shame and also a curse for a man to hang on the tree. The cross, that's what he called a tree. And so it was a curse. But Christ endured all that for us. Read.
For consider him that endured such contradictions of sinners against himself, lest ye be wearied and faith in your minds.
So you see, you're going to be worried and it's going to mess with your mind. That's the heart I was telling you about. You don't want to do that. Read.
Ye have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin.
See, Jesus Christ shedded his blood to fight sin. You didn't do that. Christ did that for us. Read.
And ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children.
See? Now your mama speaking unto you as unto children. I don't care how much a man you think you are, because you're a teenager. I bet you still got to say, Mama, you got a few dollars? See, when I was growing up, it used to be a nickel or a dime. But now, I asked my little granddaughter the other day, I said, baby, I don't understand, because when I was coming up, you asked for a nickel or dime, and you felt great if they had to give you a quarter. She said, oh no, Papa, we ask for dollars now. Sometimes 10s and 20s in dollars. I said, what? And she said, yeah. She said, huh. And if my daddy don't look out, sometimes I hit him for 100. I said, what? She said, oh yeah. So you see, I'm not saying you do that to your mama, but you might. But you got to go ask her. Isn't that right? Yeah, that's true too. Go ahead.
My son, despise thou not the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him.
Don't faint when
thou art rebuked of him.
So God gonna rebuke you, just like your parent do. And you're gonna see why. Read.
For whom the Lord loveth, he chastens.
Say God gonna chastise or chasten you, because he love you. Well, that's what your parents do. When they love you, they're trying to keep you out of the big house. You know what the big house is? Angola State Penitentiary down here in Louisiana. When you get there, that's the big house. You hear what I'm telling you? You don't want to go there. Read.
And scourgeth every son whom he receiveth.
Read.
If ye endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chastens not?
Keep reading, don't stop.
But if you be without chastisement, thereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons.
So you see, God don't want no bastard children. So if he wouldn't take care of you by correcting you, your parents, if they don't take care of you by correcting you, you would be a bastard child and not a true son. All right, read.
Furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh.
See, the fathers of the flesh.
Which corrected us.
Correct us.
And we gave them reverence.
We give them reverence. We thank them for it. Like I just told you how I thanked my grandmother when I understood what she was doing. What else?
Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of the Spirit and live?
So you see, and why we got to be in subjection to the Father of the Spirit? Because of the fact that one of these days we're going to die. And Ecclesiastes 12 said that our flesh, verse 7, gonna go back to the earth, the dust from where it came, but the spirit gonna go back to God who give it. Read.
For they verily for a few days chasten us after their own pleasure.
See, and you remember how I told you my grandma said, boy, I ain't raising you for myself, I'm raising you for somebody else. And then she said, you want people to think I don't know how to raise you for her own pleasure. That's what it was. But it was for my good. It made her feel good to know she was training me right. But it made her feel good to do it right. Because she always said, a hard head make a soft where you sit down at. And that was our favorite word. And why she said that? Because when you don't do right and the police get on you, they beat you to death. Now they ain't just beating you to death with their club no more. They're shooting you down like a mad dog. And I ain't being ugly because all of the police are not like that. They got some good police out there. Some of them are my friends. Some of them are close kinfolk to me. But then they also got some rogue police out there. And they're doing anything that's star on their chest and a gun on their hip, make them feel like they're above the law. They're not. We're not beneath the law. They're not above the law. They got to keep the law. That's what they call them, peace officers, to keep the law. But they don't always do that. And you know what? The code of the blue, animal good. You know why? I never was. Why? Because if I was a policeman, they would have done shot me down too. Yes, the police would have done shot me down. You know why? Because I wouldn't stand there and look at them doing evil and let it go. I said, no, he shot that man down, and that's an innocent person. That man didn't have a gun. That man didn't charge him. He wasn't trying to fight him. He wasn't resisting arrest. None of that. He lied. Now they'd shoot me down because I told the truth. And they'll figure out a way to do it to make it look like an accidental shooting. And I ain't being ugly, I'm telling you the truth. So what I'm saying is, y'all good policemen, stand up for good. James 4:17 still said, to him who know what to do good and do it not, to him it is sin. Don't be a sinner behind somebody else's sin. You know why? You're partaking of their evil deed. 2 John 9:11. Whoever partake of another man's evil deed, he partaking of it because of the fact that he cheering him on, encouraging him to do wrong. So don't stay silent. Silent, give consent. What else he said?
But he for our profit, that we might be partakers of his holiness.
So you see, God chastened us for our profit so we could be partake of his holiness, his righteousness. And so when your mama correct you, she doing that so she won't have to be laying in the bed crying that night wondering how you getting along down there in Angola or whatever the name of your state penitentiary is, San Quentin or wherever, Rikers Island, wherever they're going to put you. They ain't gonna never put you nowhere where it's good to go. Always gonna put you somewhere where they got some alligators and crocodiles around you. So if you try to run away when you jump in the lake, the crocodiles and the alligators gonna eat your behind up. Tear you up because they ain't gonna feed them right. They want them to be hungry. Why? If you don't want to obey the law, you're going to be punished. If you obey the law, you're going to be freed from having to suffer that kind of prosecution. Obey your mama. Don't be hard-headed. There's so much I could say that I can't bring up in 30 minutes, but they got a whole bunch of Bible verses on this stuff. Oh, buku bunch of them. And you listen. Don't be hard-headed. I could tell you cases. I had a nephew almost 50 years ago. I saw him with a wrong bunch of people, and I tried to talk to him, and he didn't sass or nothing to me. He just said, okay, uncle, but he never left the guy, stayed with him. 2-3 weeks later, I happened to go back toward New Iberia. There he was with that same gang. I said, them boys don't mean you no good. They're not your friends. Well, next thing I heard, he went a few miles past New Iberia to Lydia with those guys. They stopped at a bank. Oh, I got a little check I need to cash. And he should have known better than that right there. They wasn't working where they going to get a check from the cash. He stopped. Oh, you don't need to come in. You don't need to stop the car. And it was cool that day. So the smoke was white smoke coming out the back of the car. The lady at the drive-thru window knew that the car was running, and she didn't pay it no mind. 4 boys went in the bank, held the bank up at gunpoint, come back, got in the car. he drove on down the street and he stopped at the store because he didn't know what was going on. Here come the police, surrounded the car, pick him up, got down there to the jailhouse. Oh, he was the leader of the gang and he was driving the getaway car. Well, that matched what the lady at the drive-through window said. The car never stopped and the driver never got out. Well, it looked like he was ordering them to do it. He didn't know nothing about it. And I'm not saying it because it was my nephew. The child wasn't raised like that. But hard-headedness, he didn't listen. When the child came up, them boys all ratted him out, say he was the leader of the gang and he did it and all that kind of stuff. And he told them to do that. They got a slap on the wrist, got away with ratting him out, plea bargain, I think the law called that. Nothing happened to him that day. My nephew went to the pen, 7 years hard labor. Other guys that had been to the pen had been telling him, oh, hard labor, don't you let them tell you that. My nephew called me a few months after he was down there. He said, Uncle, tell them boys, that's a lie. They wake you up 4 o'clock in the morning and you get dressed and they bring us out on the roadside and put a briar hook cutter in our hand and we had to cut all the way 12 miles down the road and we got a certain time to get through with that job. And when we get down to the end of that 12 miles, we got to cross over and come back for where we started, 12 miles again in that boiling hot sun. And every now and then, when they think it's time, they give us a little drink of water so we won't get dehydrated and fall out with a sunstroke. He said, and the days when it rained, they bring us in early, but then we can't go rest. We think we're going to go rest. They go get a bucket and a mop, and we got to go mop and clean up and scrub and wash windows and everything else. I said, what? He said, when they say hard labor, they mean that. I said, yeah, that sure is true. He said, well, I'll tell you one thing, Uncle, I'm sorry I didn't listen. Well, I said, you remember grandmother always told us, a stitch in time saves 9. He said, yeah, I see now what she meant. That was his great-grandmother. That was mom and my sister grandmother. Well, he finished his time. When he got out, he said, Uncle, I'm leaving because I know if I stay here, I'm going to hurt somebody and I don't want to do that. Stayed there 7 years. He didn't get out on no good behavior. He did 7 years hard labor. Hard-headed did it. Didn't do nothing wrong, but he had to do the 7 years till the guy say he was the one and he ain't had nothing to do. But guess what? Them 4 guys all ended up dead before them 7 years. You know why? Because they never stopped. They tried that with somebody else and it backfired on them. All of them got killed one by one. And they still didn't learn nothing because the last one, if he'd have thought, he'd have said, well, the other 3 gone, I'm going to repent. Nope, he didn't do it. Some folk just like that. I'm telling y'all that long story, boys. Listen to your mama. Your mama love you. Don't break your mama heart. And don't do that. When you get down there, nobody going to go see about you but your mama. All them friends that you trying to please, and none of them going to go to the jail and look for you. You know why? Because they think they might keep them there. They ain't going to go because they're not right. They ain't going to let you see all what they're doing, but they're doing something that right, or else they wouldn't be instructing you to do wrong. They want you in their company so you could do wrong and don't talk about, oh, I know, you don't know. I'm telling you, you think you know, you don't know. And you don't know what they're going to do until they do it. But I've seen it too many times that how people do things like that. I had a neighbor. The guys all went out and they stopped by my house after they picked him up for me to go with them. But I never did believe in the crowd. And I said, no, I'll talk to y'all later. I'm going to look at the fight tonight. I can't remember if it was Sugar Ray Leonard or one of them fighters was popular back then. This was in the 50s. And so it couldn't have been Sugar Ray Leonard. That must have been Hurricane Carter, Reuben Hurricane Carter, or the heavyweight champion guy, Sonny Liston, somebody like that was fighting that night. And my neighbor said, oh, could I watch the fight with you? I said, sure, come on. So he sat down and we were looking at the TV, and when the fight got through, after the announcements and stuff, a cowboy show came on. And we both liked the Cowboys. I still do. I don't know about him because I haven't seen him in the last 20 years. But anyway, we were watching that. Well, he got up and went home, and although it was right across the street, it was real dark. And he said, stand in the door till I get home, and I'm going to holler at you and let you know I'm in the house. I said, okay. So when the mama got up and opened the door for him, he said, hey, Con, I'm in the house. I said, okay, thank you. He said, good night. I said, good night. We went on in. Well, 9 o'clock the next morning, here come the police. Got over there and went straight to his house because the people told him he was with the gang, that the trouble they got in. And he said, no, I was with Cornelius. So he came over, the police walked across the street to my house. And I said, yeah. I said, we watched TV from the fight. And they had a pre-fight and then another fight and then the champion fight. And then after that, we watched a cowboy show. And when he got up and went home, whatever the time it was, I said the TV signed off because at that time they didn't stay on all night like they do now. At 12 o'clock or whenever the last show, they were cut off. Well, he said, okay. And the mama hollered out the door, now you going to believe that boy? And you didn't believe me? She said, yeah, because Cornelius ain't got no business to lie. He don't follow no crowd. Whenever I see him in town, he taking care of business, and he go back home to bring whatever he went to the store, pay bills or whatever, and he come back home. He don't get in trouble. He don't never be with nobody. He always by himself. And if he was sitting there with Cornelius, I believe that because Cornelius don't go nowhere at night. And it's true. If you catch me out my house after 8 o'clock at night, you better rest assured I'm either studying the Bible with somebody or I'm at church worshiping God in a meeting of some type about serving God or studying the Bible or whatever like that. But just to be at the house, to be out rambling the street with nothing to do, never was my type. Young men stay home. There ain't nothing but trouble in them streets. And sometimes y'all say, but I ain't looking for trouble. You ain't got to look for trouble. You be out there, trouble gonna find you. Trust me, son. Trouble will find you. You ain't got to look for it. So we want you to understand that. Please pay attention to mama. Love your mama and treat her right. And don't break your mama's heart. Don't have your mama crying, because most time people don't think about it. My daughter just a few minutes ago was talking about some young man shot up somebody. She said, what's the matter with these young people? Well, they don't understand. Don't you know when you shoot somebody, that somebody got a mama too that's grieving and hurting, and people don't stop and think about that. The shooter got a mama and people that love him, just like the dead person got a mama and somebody that love him, and all these people hurting. Most time, nobody think about consoling the shooter's mama because he did the shooting, but the shooter was stupid and a fool. You don't do that. Crime doesn't pay. And the law, the long arm of the law, if you want to put it like that, gonna catch you sooner or later. So obey God, work righteousness, fear God, and work righteousness. After all, that's the whole duty of man. Ecclesiastes 12 and verse 13. That's your duty. Excuse me. We love you and God love you. Stay tuned and let everybody know that instead of 11, we'll be on at 5 again tomorrow. Thank you kindly.